Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Anthony, I'm a tech founder, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the three hardest technical things I have faced while being a tech founder of a SaaS company for the past 4 years. Yesterday, I did the business version of this. Today is going to be the tech version of this, and it's going to be a bit different. But if you find value in this video, make sure you leave a comment. It helps so much with the algorithm, and subscribe if you want to see more content about me starting companies and start your own company. And we also have a Discord community, so feel free to join that as well. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, the first biggest hardship that I think defines like a lot of the company is the idea of building something off of a different platform. What that means is my first company was an esports company, and we pretty much provided analytics for pro players and for casual viewers of the scene and competitive viewers that wanted to see cool stats about their favorite players and favorite teams in the esport. And all of that data came from the game provider that we covered for. And that game provider pretty much had a lockdown on that data. So we would be able to hit the API and get all the data and stuff like that from them. But anything else, like if we wanted more data to add more features, or if we wanted to use data in a specific way, or even if we wanted to, for example, switch over to a different data provider that might not be officially done by them, we ran into so many issues. And what ends up happening is if you start building a platform that is on top of something that someone else built, you have to understand that you are beholden to them while you are building it. The same thing goes for my new company, which has already been a pain, and it's kind of making me want to pivot, which is the idea that we, for example, have a large database of influencers. Well, in order to get that database, you either have to scrape, which is illegal, and we decided not to do, or you have to use Instagram's API. And Instagram's API is very limited. For example, if you wanted to look at somebody's video or someone's post, you'll get the like count and the comment count, but they, for some reason, just don't give you how many views the post has for whatever reason. The rate limit is super strict. So in order to pull 65,000 influencers into our database, it took us 25 days of running a script on our machine just to pull them because of their API limits. And the API limits were also just inconsistent. Sometimes they block you on how many calls you've made. Sometimes they block you on how much time it took their backend to process the calls. So it's just insane. You are extremely limited in what you are building by what the provider whose data you relies on is actually willing to give you and how fast they're willing to give it to you. And I built my first company like that, and I really didn't like it. And I realized it was sort of a mistake building the second company like that as well. So I'll keep you updated. Maybe I'll pivot because of it. I thought Instagram would have an API that's pretty user-friendly to build stuff on top of, but it is definitely not. So we'll see how that goes. But if you are going into a business where you are building on top of someone else's platform or on top of someone else's data, be wary. You will be sort of beholden to them for a long time. It is not fun. A lot of the times, even if you have tons of users, your users will want things. You'll go to the platform and ask them if they can update their API or somehow give you a special key to allow you to do it. And they just don't care. They have their own business to run. It's not their priority to care about whether or not you are building stuff that your customers want. And it's the sad reality of business, but it is by far the biggest thing I would caution you guys about. And it's something that I wish I thought about 4 years ago, and I'm thinking about now. Now, the second thing is the scalability of what you are building. Yeah, you don't want to spend all the time building something anticipating you're going to get millions and millions of users, because you're just going to end up getting blocked and not know what to do. But you also shouldn't build things in a way where if you were to get like maybe 10 initial users, you're going to have to rewrite the whole thing. So I recommend trying to build things off of toolings. So I recommend if you're going to use tooling and other software to build your software, like for example, logging and database and caching, you should choose tools that have a generous free tier and they don't price gouge you. So good examples of this is like BetterStack for logging and uptime hosting. I've used it for logging, not uptime monitoring, but it is super good. Their support team is one of the best tech company support teams I've ever seen in my life. You have PostHog, which does a bunch of cool stuff like session replays, product analytics, so similar to BetterStack in that sense, but also A/B testing and feature flags and stuff like that. Supabase, absolutely great, especially if you are a beginner. You will probably be able to ship a whole product and get a ton of users before you have to worry about paying for Supabase. Like I said, we have 65,000 influencers in our database and over 235,000 media objects in our database that we got in like a month of pulling from the API. And like we're paying like $50 a month for this. And we are querying across all of them, and it is not that big of a deal. Upstash is great as well. They have a good pay-as-you-go plan. So depending on how many hits you're getting and what kind of data you're caching and how big that data is, I would sort of maybe like consider checking out Upstash if you need a cache for it. Now, examples of price gouging, I gave a story about this in one of my other videos, but Versal, for example, has great starter rates, but as soon as your backend starts doing some heavy lifting and you start getting a fair amount of usage, they start to charge you overages. I talked about a story where my esports website gets around 500k page views a month, and we had one call, for example, that was taking like a long time because of some database issues, and we got an influx of users one day, and within like 4 days we racked up $400 in like serverless function hours overages. So you got to really be careful about that type of stuff. Just keep an eye on everything you're doing and make sure you are building in a way that doesn't take up too much time to be scalable, but also if you start blowing up, you want to worry about serving all those customers that are coming and not upgrading your infrastructure and getting rid of tech debt. So build smart. Now, the last thing that makes your life really hard on the technical side is when you spread yourself too thin in terms of what you are building. This is sort of like a business and technical issue, but what we found was we were talking to a ton of users for our esports SaaS. We found that there were just a ton of people who wanted a ton of different stuff. We built out a ranking system. We built out a player ranking system, a team ranking system. We built out a pick'ems and fantasy system. We built out a whole bunch of these random features that a different group of users would want. And we were like, yeah, if we appeal to what everyone wants, then of course everyone's going to use our application. But instead of focusing on the small amount of users that have those use cases you can help that sort of make up the majority of where your revenue is coming from, we did it like the opposite way around, and we sort of spread ourselves really thin, and we built a very broad amount of features. And over 4 years of building, we ended up having like 9 repositories, hundreds of thousands of lines of code. Like imagine you're coding something 10 hours a day for 4 years and it's your own project. We put so much code into this, we probably could have like sent something to the moon in like half the amount of code. But it was just insane. And what ends up happening is you start having small little bugs or small little feature requests. And all of a sudden, instead of focusing on new things or the things that are actually bringing your company revenue, like for us, it was analytics, we would have people that were like, hey, this one thing is like sort of wrong for this one random feature that I really care about. And this another person that would say something about a different feature. And it just got to the point where we were trying to support so many features, and a lot of them were like, because the industry is shifting and the game was shifting, a lot of them sort of required us to like go back and redo some of the logic or redo something. I guarantee you, I'm never going to like focus on 50 different things again. You should just focus on solving one problem really, 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 really good. Make sure that problem is profitable. People are willing to pay you to solve it, that the market is big enough to actually make a decent living and maybe turn this into a big company someday. But do not spread yourself thin by coding a lot of things mediocrely and then having to support those things as time goes on. I can't tell you the amount of DMs I get every single day for a feature I coded a year and a half ago that I know is not going to make me any revenue, but it's hard to just tell a customer like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to fix this bug or like add this feature you want because it's simply just not profitable for us. It's not worth the time. We just don't have the resources to do it. So that's something I would heavily caution you guys to thinking about. And if you have any other ideas of what I should talk about, let me know in the comments. I read your ideas. I put them into my little Obsidian notepad of things I'm going to talk about. And yeah, if you liked it, leave a comment. It helps so much with the algorithm. Subscribe. Join our Discord community. Tell us what you're building. Ask us any question you have about building a startup, and I'll see you guys in the next video.